Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review on the Nike Machomai 3 boxing shoes. So check it out. Hey, what's up guys? Carlo here. Today I'm doing a review on the Nike Machomai 3 boxing shoes. These retail for $100. I purchased mine from Box Up Nation. If you're interested in checking them out, I'll put the link down below to their website in the description box. I got mine in this clean white and gold colorway in size 11. Each shoe weighs roughly about 9 ounces. You can get them as small as size 5 all the way up to size 14, and they do offer this shoe in half sizes. I believe they currently have 5 stock colors to choose from, with some limited edition colorways like the Olympic colorway, which they offer for a lot of their other boxing and wrestling shoes, which is basically my favorite, but it came out after I purchased these. It's like a light gray with some elephant print, similar to what you would see on Jordans with a little bit of orange, but I think to me that's probably my favorite colorway out of the colors they currently offer. But they have like blue, red, black, white, and gold. They also have a white and black, so they have some good variation in colors. Now, these are obviously the successor to the super popular Machomai 2s and the 1s. To me, the Machomai 2s were the exact same shoe as the Machomai 1s. The only thing that changed was the colorways they offered. So I'm not too sure why Nike called them the 2s, even though they never really even redesigned the shoe, in my opinion. All they did was just give you more colors to choose from. So these shoes were obviously hyped up because these are pretty much almost a complete redesign over the 2s and the 1s. Now, to me, the Machomais have always been right along with the Hyper KOs. Obviously, from a sales perspective, I don't know which shoes sold more. I'm assuming maybe the Hyper KOs were a little bit more popular, but the Machomais came out before the Hyper KOs, right? And you know, a lot of boxers, some of our favorites like Pacquiao, would use the Machomais in his training, and that's really where you would see a lot of videos on YouTube with a lot of our favorite fighters using those shoes. So you know, these shoes, no pun intended, have big shoes to fill in that regard because of the hype and how you know, how many boxers and fighters out there that use the original Hyper KOs and love them. So there was a lot of, to me, in my opinion, a lot of expectations, high expectations for these shoes in regards to hopefully improvements with it. For me personally, you know, when it comes to Nikes, the only reason I'm not completely sold on them is because of just how narrow these shoes typically are. And for people like myself that have white feet, I would love to use these shoes more frequently, but because of how narrow they are, I often find my feet to be kind of uncomfortable and they often hurt. So that's the big red flag for me when it comes to Nikes, and I wish they would correct that, or at least offer a wide option for these shoes. And I know that they're aware of that. I would hope they are. And the fact that they still don't do that, because you have a lot of boxers and fighters out there that have white feet, and I'm sure they would love to wear Nikes, but they can't, just because they just flat out hurt when they put them on and they start training in them. I've had these shoes for about 2 months now. I did an initial unboxing video a couple months back and have used these in my rotation. You know, admittingly, I haven't used them as much as I wanted to, because when I start using these shoes, they just start hurting. Like four rounds into my training, they just start hurting the edges of my feet, and I just suck it up and just deal with it. But because of that, it doesn't invite me to want to use the shoes more often. So I end up using my Everlast Elite 2s or my Yamis, or even my Adams Bach, my V trainers when I train. But I do use these for the sake of just trying to get a feel for them. Now, with that being said, I definitely think there is some good with the shoe as well. For those of you that have normal to narrow feet, then you won't have those issues, and then you kind of look at this review and relate to the shoe in that regard and not worry about having white feet. So, starting off with the actual shoe, each shoe weighs in roughly at about 9 ounces. It does have a synthetic mesh upper. And to me, this is a mid-top shoe. So it's not a high top, it's not a super high shoe where it's gonna take forever for you to lace the shoe up. And it's not a low top to where the ankle portion of the shoe sits low. To me, it's mid-top, This is my favorite height when it comes to a boxing shoe, both from a performance and an aesthetic standpoint. I think it looks the best. And I also feel that you still get an ample amount of ankle support, but you don't have to worry about it taking forever to lace your shoes up every time you go to the gym and train, right? So you do have that synthetic mesh upper that goes throughout with the tongue. You also do have reinforced eyelets for the laces that go through. The synthetic mesh starts from the very top. It's definitely more rigid than the outgoing Machomai 2 and 1, particularly around the ankle support and this portion of the upper that go down to the top of the toe box. You do have some suede that goes around the toe box. That's a little bit more of that suede tan color. You do have that larger swoosh in gold, so that's one big difference compared to the outgoing model, is that you have just kind of that larger swoosh that starts right here at the back of the top portion of the heel cup, and that drops down about 3/4 of the way. You do have this nylon strap that goes over the top, kind of like the original. And you also have a really nice heel cup that is very rigid and hard to lock your heel in. And you have a little bit more of that synthetic material. This is more like a thread design that is printed on the back of the heel cup. And you also have the nylon strap on the back for the pull tab that says Nike Boxing, and it has kind of like this little, kind of like, like frequency design. I do love the fact that they included the heel pull. I think that all boxing shoes should have this, so that when you're putting the shoe on, you can grab the back of this and really pull on it. And it really don't think about how much that helps with the convenience of putting the shoe on. Because a lot of times when you're putting the shoe on, a lot of boxers are standing up and they might brace themselves like against the boxing ring or whatever they're standing next to the wall. And then they try to pull a heel up. And if you don't have this little heel tab, it makes it harder, because now you have to kind of grab the back of the shoe, and then your thumb kind of gets in the way of your ankle. Where this allows you to really pull up and slip and drop your heel and drop into the shoe. So I definitely like that. The bottom of the shoe, this is where it looks very familiar with the other models from Nike, the Machomais, as well as the Hyper KOs, with that V herringbone design on the ball and the front portion of the foot, with a little bit of the cutouts that round out on the outside edges. So you have the round out there as well as the round out there for that horizontal support. So you have that herringbone pattern, and I'd say a medium-sized arch, narrows down towards the middle section of the foot and then opens up towards the bottom of the heel. And the heel again extends upwards on that heel cup with that herringbone pattern. So in terms of getting good grip and support when you're moving laterally, I think the shoe does a really good job in terms of being able to feel what's down below you on the mat or whatever surface you're training on, and really getting that feedback that you're looking for. The inside of the shoe does have an insole, but the insole is glued in. So technically, yes, you can remove it, but you'll have to kind of pull on it, and you'll end up ripping the glue out as you pull on that insole. So if you want to insert your own custom orthotics, you can do so, but keep in mind you will have to rip that insole out and drop your own in there. So that's completely up to you. It does say Machomai 3 with a Nike swoosh right here on the tongue. On the inside of the tongue, it just has your standard tag right here with the materials made in China. No surprise there. Nike Machomai 3 upper, doesn't say anything. It's left blank. Would have been nice if they actually put information there. The last, I don't know what the hell last means, but there's nothing. Size 11. Ship to, doesn't say anything. Season 2406. So I don't know, season, maybe that's like their serial number or their manufacturing, but I have no idea. But anyhow, the laces on here are good laces in the fact that they're not completely round, nor are they flat. So these are more like those oval laces that have kind of like a thread on the outside edge. They have like edges to them, if that makes sense. And what I like about laces with this is when you lace them up, and if you go around your ankle with them, they tend not to break loose. With circle laces, like I have circle laces on my Yamis, I love the way they feel. The Yamis are some of my favorite shoes, but the laces sometimes get undone if I'm jumping rope or I'm doing some type of activity, because they're round and they tend to kind of uncinch themselves as you train. So the more you're moving around and your foot and your ankle is moving inside the shoe, the laces being round will kind of uncinch themselves. Where laces like this, flat laces are the best, but they're also the most pain in the ass to untie. Where this is kind of like a good compromise in the middle. is kind of like a flat and a round lace combined. And so you have that. You do have gold plastic tips at the end. I'm assuming whatever colorway you get, the color of the plastic tips will accent that. And then the tongue also has a lace support in the middle of the tongue as well. Now, I noticed a lot of people had made comments in my other video that these shoes look like the Adidas Box Hogs, and I agree with that. They do kind of look like the Box Hogs. I feel like they got the Machomais and then got the Box Hogs and kind of came up and made this, and now ended up being the baby of those two shoes. So I can definitely see where they have a little bit of that similar look. I think particularly around the ankle area and this toe box where it kind of has more of a flatter look. I feel like the Machomais, the originals and the twos, I might as well just say the original because the twos are just different colors, but had a little bit more of like an angular tapered look. A little bit more like an, I don't know, aerodynamic looking shoe, especially around the ankle area. This right here has a little bit more of a flat look, and it just has a little bit more of a flat, you know, box hog look to it. And that's, I think, where people are really seeing that similarity, especially around this toe area, and then just this flat portion where the original Machomais looked a little bit more angular. So in my opinion, I think it looks solid, but I still prefer the look of the original Machomais. If we're looking at it just purely from aesthetics and how they look, these don't look bad. I think they look okay, but I think Nike could have done a better job. You know, I think they could have just, I don't know, I think it could have been a step up. And maybe because the Hyper KOs that came out, the Hyper KO 2s that look like alien shoes, were a big jump from the original Hyper KOs. There was a lot said about that too. A lot of people didn't like that, but they eventually grew on a lot of people. I still feel like this shoe was a little underwhelming when they came out. And again, they're not bad, but they're just not great, right? It didn't blow you away where you're like, wow, they really like kicked ass when it came out with this redesign, and they definitely are, you know, doing the Hyper KOs not Hyper KO, Machomai's justice. Sorry, now I'm getting the two shoes confused, but the Machomai's justice with this shoe. So they're okay, but I feel there could have been a better opportunity in making them look better. Now, in terms of performance, for those of you that have white feet like me, my issue is always this outside corner, right? I end up getting like a callus really bad right here, and it really pinches on my foot, and it starts to hurt. And as you guys know, and I mentioned this in other shoe review videos, is that your feet and your hands will swell when you start working out and training, right? When it's hot, you're sweating. And if you ever notice it, when you take your shoes off after you get done with your training session, your feet just are like, oh man, it feels amazing to take my shoes off. And that's because your feet are swelling inside your shoe. So you have to kind of account for that. I got this in size 11. I usually wear size 10.5 when it comes to my shoes, but when it comes to boxing shoes, I always go a half size up because I know that they typically run narrow, and in particular Nike. So I still went a half size up, and I still got that discomfort on that outside edge. Now, in terms of the actual feel, if I were to take that out of the equation, I think they feel great. Like I feel super grounded with this shoe, meaning like it almost feels like my foot is right on the floor. And that's because the insole and the outsole, this rubber outsole that they use, is fairly thin, right? So it's, to me, this is not like a cross trainer like an Adams V trainer or an Everlast Elite 2 where you have that thicker Michelin sole. To me, this is more of a pure boxing shoe, meaning that if you're going to use this to do like any type of conditioning, high impact conditioning training, whether it's, you know, box jumps and whatever other type lunges and all the other types of movements you do at the gym for your strength training, you're not going to get any impact resistance with this whatsoever. So if you have lower back issues, knee issues, anything from your waist down that you have like issues with, don't expect to get a lot of support from these shoes. You definitely feel everything. Like you can step on a penny and you'll feel the penny with these shoes on, which is what you want in the ring. Like if you're using this for sparring and you're using this for training and boxing, and you want that ultimate feedback, you definitely get it with this shoe. I definitely feel the upper feels very comfortable, so I had no issues with the upper. The ankle support felt great. I do wish that they incorporated a better lace system. So this has your traditional laces that, you know, they poke holes through the upper and they just run the laces through. Towards the upper portion, you have these 3 eyelet holes right here. There's no metal or plastic rivets It's just basically stitched in embroidery. And I feel like boxing shoes now should use a system similar to like what Yami uses. And I think even Boxrod just recently came out with their shoes where they use those vertical holes or loops, if you want to call them. And it makes lacing your shoes up just so much easier and convenient. So when you put it on, you don't have to sit there and spend your time, pulling on each one of these and then having to lace that and go in the back. And I know that's really low-hanging fruit, but I feel like those systems where they have the actual openings where the laces go through, like the Yamis, it's just so much quicker to lace and cinch up the shoe. Even Everlast Elites don't use that. They use this similar where you just kind of poke through. And to me, the laces, if they're larger, it drags through that hole and it just takes longer, and you have to really cinch it up to really get that tight locked in feel. So that's my only critique of the lace system. Other than that, the upper feels really good ample ankle support. The movement when using these in the ring feels really, really good, in terms of footwork, lateral movement from side to side, moving backwards and forwards, good amount of grip, good for pivoting, all the execution with your footwork is good. It's just that wide feet's going to be uncomfortable. You definitely feel grounded, and as a cross-training shoe, thinner outsole, so it'll wear out a lot quicker, and you'll be a little bit more prone to injury if you're doing any type of high-impact movement because there's not a lot of support, which is not what this particular shoe is designed for. So overall, I think it's a decent shoe. I feel like the design of the shoe definitely could have been a little bit better. It's not bad, but it's not great. I definitely like the material upper. In terms of the quality, Nike's a shoe brand. And that's one thing going on for them compared to some other brands that are not dedicated to making shoes. Like you have a lot of brands that are boxing shoe brands or boxing brands that sell boxing equipment that happen to make shoes. And sometimes the shoes just feel cheap and a little bit lackluster. With Nike's, it's Nike, right? That's what they do, is they build shoes. And not to say that the shoes are the ultimate when it comes to quality, but typically you'll find a lot better consistency when it comes to the shoes just because that's what they do. That's what they're known for. So quality is definitely on point. Nothing with the shoe that really stands out. That's okay, that's done really badly. So QC is definitely top notch with the shoes. I just wish they made wider sizes for these shoes. And to me, that would be the game changer. Like, I feel like if they made that toe box wider and gave you the option, man, that would open a whole different realm for these shoes, and you would have so many more people that would support them because of that. But overall, a solid shoe, not a bad, take from Nike to improve the Machomais, but I definitely think they could do better. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you guys know what to do, put them down below. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find these Machomai 3 boxing shoes. I'll see you guys later. Peace.